All right. Recording in progress. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Lindsay. How are
I'm
you?
doing really good. I had to take a child to a Mexican restaurant.
Why did
And it
you
was
have to?
well,
Was it like, did she
because
demand that your
right.
3-year-old voice?
I mean,
Mommy, take me to Mexican
the way
restaurant.
she went in on those chips and salsa, it was like I was,
Oh wow.
yeah, she was like, give me those. I'm like, okay, whoa. Um, but
Wow.
her grandpa's birthday, and he wanted to go
Okay.
to a Mexican restaurant. But
It's nice.
it was she was an
Olive does
angel.
Mexican.
All right, Olive does Mexican.
I think it's a
Um,
children's book.
and then in the room I'm in, we had her ball pit set out like it's like this collapsible ball pit, and
Okay, so she
Ryan's
doesn't
like,
get bored.
yeah. So Ryan was like, yeah. Ryan was like, you should do the podcast from your ball pit. I'm like, no, no, I do
I,
not want to
I
do that.
don't know if I want to do a podcast from the ball pit, but the next time I go have Mexican food, I feel like I want to bring a ball pit with me. So
That's a
when
freaking
I get bored, like
that's a business model
I
right
don't think
there.
Olive should have, the market on that, on
She
the
should.
ball market. No.
Well, wow. Hey guys, it's Daggercast. Welcome to it.
And we
Um,
hope you are listening in your ball pit.
yeah, I hope you're in your ball pit. Uh,
Or if you don't have it out, you better bring it out and
yeah, I
set it
mean,
up right away because
and
you are going to need it for this amazing episode we've got
yeah,
planned.
don't let your kids snack in that ball pit or it's just going to be crummy, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm not doing it in my ball pit. Yuck. Um, I could do it in her pen. It's literally just across the way. Next time I will. I'll just do
Right.
it
I
among
think you
all of her
should.
toys.
I think it'll be a good visual.
Um, speaking of so we're having a guest on, and that guest did a movie, and I'm very the thing that like really took me back with their movie, because we're gonna introduce them, was all of the puffy VHS tapes I saw that
Oh,
were
that's
Disney.
right.
All the puffy Disney VHSs brought me back to my childhood,
Nice.
to my ball pit era. So I'm very
Well,
excited
we'll have to talk about
to
that with Mr. Chris Moore,
we totally should.
who is one of the most prolific and amazing LGBTQIA directors out there. I've been a huge fan of his for years. And he's done some remarkable stuff, and he's theater and film, and he's just constantly going, and they're all really, really some of the best indie horror films I've seen, I think, and indie films in general, like generally solid scripts and great performances. And Triggered came out a few years ago, which was amazing, just about our cultural sensitivities, and kind of a high school slasher milieu with Amanda Weiss from the Nightmare on Elm Street films, who was amazing, amazing. She played the school guidance counselor or principal. I'm forgetting now, but he will remind me when he comes on. But great film, and this latest film is just kind of continues his trend, and he's growing, the latest film that's coming out, I think, on the 30th of April, though, has had some film premieres in Mississippi, where he's from, Children of Sin. And I've described it as Hansel and Gretel meets But I'm a Cheerleader Gone Slasher.
Oh, okay.
So with that tagline or description, I think we have to bring the amazing Chris Moore onto the show so we can talk about his amazing filmography and movies and all that
Yeah.
kind of crazy stuff, and what it's like being an awesome gay dude creating horror.
Hell yeah. Coming
Oh,
out, Chris.
He's,
He's
am I
Yay!
here?
You're
teasing.
Here I am.
here.
You are
Okay.
Hi.
teasing. You are
It's all
teasing us.
it's
I
all
like
all
it.
this technology.
I yeah.
It's a lot.
I can't handle.
Even after 2 years of honing my Zoom skills, not
Yeah.
still not really fully into it.
I
Well,
s- it's just bizarre.
it
This
is.
whole new world is just strange,
It
but
really
I'm
is.
trying to get used to it.
But it's cool. I'm glad to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
I love being able to see, I love being able to have guests on and then also just immediately see their movie. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for sharing it so that we
Oh
could
yeah.
view it. I agree. I agree with Brian's description. It I was trying to think like how many people have set their horror movies in a conversion therapy retreat. And why haven't we done that more? Like, why isn't that a thing? We haven't like we
Oh.
did what? There was what was the one with Nicole Kidman?
Oh, Boy Erased.
Boy Erased.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
where like to me, like any movie about conversion therapy is a horror movie.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
So to me it was very fitting. It's almost like sometimes I think about like I was thinking about that and then I was thinking like, man, we need to have like now I need more horror movies about like the parts of my life that are nightmares, like waiting in line. Where's the killer
Uh,
that is in line with you?
well, now I do believe I think Toby Hooper once said that he got the idea for Texas Chainsaw because he was in line shopping and he saw this chainsaw on display and he was so upset because the line was just backed up. I think it was around Christmas, where everything's just packed. And he thought, what if I took this chainsaw and I just mowed down everybody in this line? So, I mean, see, stuff like that creates the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Of course, and no wonder
Uh,
Leatherface was so just bugged out. Like the way he even held it was like, rah! Like I don't even know what I'm doing. Like that's how Toby Hooper would have done it.
Probably.
He's
It was a
probably
little bit
like,
messy.
yeah, he probably like totally was like, okay, now here's your motivation. You're in line and you see a chainsaw and you just mow down everybody in the line. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I can work with that. Amazing.
Love it. I love it.
So Brian has told me a little bit about you, but I also read up you've made quite a few movies, my friend.
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's including this one, I would count maybe four that I would claim,
Okay.
but there's a few that came before that that like three people have seen. So I'm not gonna talk about those because they were kind of a mess. And but that's what you gotta do. You gotta start and make a mess, and then try to get better from there. So
Yeah, can you talk about kind of your beginnings, I guess, like where you started, where
ooh,
you're headed?
yeah.
I
Well,
know
I
that's a lot,
started.
but
Yeah. Where am I going, and what will I find? Um, I'm trying to think when I start. I mean, I remember the first time I picked up a camera was probably when I was 9 or 10, because my family had this VHS-C camcorder with these like tiny little tapes, and so my friends and I on the weekends we would dress up in the Ghostface costume and the Michael Myers costume, and we'd have these little plastic knives that we would get at the party shops and stuff, and we would pretend to be in these movies that I remember at the time I thought they had a plot. I was convinced. I knew exactly why everybody was doing what they were doing, but I found some of them recently, and I really don't know what's happening in these movies whatsoever. But I know at the time I was like, this is art. People are going to see this and they're going to be like, you 10-year-old kid, here's your Oscar. I was convinced, and it did not happen that way. And then I just kept on going. I made a few movies in high school that some of them were completed, some weren't. I think I remember trying to do adaptations of Snow White and Cinderella, and neither of them were ever completed because they sucked. And so then after that I went to film school, and really I didn't make a lot during film school that was really worth much, because I mainly did screenwriting, so there wasn't much to show for that. And then I got back home and started to do a lot more theater, and then I was doing a puppet show of all things in the world, and the guy in charge was like, so you have a degree in film, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so why aren't you doing anything with it? And I was like, you have a point there. And so I used the money that I made from that show to buy a laptop and a camera, and I made Blessed Are the Children. That was my first real, like, I don't want to say like real film, but it was the first one that people saw, and that was distributed. And so ever since then, it seems like about maybe every year and a half, I kind of get a little itch to do something else. And I never know what I'm going to do next. I mean, even right now, I've got tons of ideas, but I'm like, I don't know which ones I can feasibly pull off at the moment, or
Yeah.
um, stuff like that. But this one in particular, it just seemed like the time was right, and it was an idea that I had for years. And in fact, last week, friend of mine from college, he saw that I posted something about the film, and he said, "I remember when you talked about this concept when we were in college." And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know it went back that far. Like, I really had no idea, but
Yeah.
it's just been in my head. And I thought, you know what, this seems like the right time, because with everything going on, there's just so much crazy crap, and I was like, it just seems like it's the right time.
Yeah. It's always so mind-boggling that we've come pretty far.
Yeah.
If you think about it, we've really, I think there's this core of humanity that embraces everyone and doesn't care, who, what, when, where, how, why. But
Yeah.
we've got this small nugget that has a lot of power, that like, you can't say gay in Florida now. Like, what? Who would have thought? I mean,
I
it's
can't.
just like, it's just inconceivable that what, like, that women are slowly losing their rights to have abortions. I mean, it's
Mhm.
insane. It's
I
insane. So
can't
that's why
believe it.
movies like this, as outlandish and fun and over the top as they are so important, because they really do say something, just about the
Yeah.
hypocrisy, and growing up in the Catholic Church and being a victim of predator priests and stuff like that. Anything that kind of knocks religion down a bit, because I think there's obviously a lot that's good about it, but there's so much about organized religion that
Ugh,
is so corrupt and horrible that
it's
so I can't tell you how many little set pieces you had in Children of the Sin that I don't want to ruin for folks, but like, particularly in that, and the final moment,
oh, yeah.
I was
I'm
like
just like,
fists in the air.
yes,
I was like,
yes, religion kills. It sucks. It's
yeah.
horrible.
As an
Go
atheist,
more, go.
I was very happy with this film,
Yes.
because I too believe, like, I liked, and I also liked where you found places in the script to really like drive that home, in a sense, to be like when there's like a girl who just says, "Well, I don't feel like a bad person,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I was just like, "You're not. You're probably not." I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
It was just a great like moment. But yeah, you really found some good parts to really just jab in there, where it's like, this is just like not even, you had like you had the guy that was just kind of blindly following,
Mhm.
not really questioning it.
Yeah.
You had people who were always questioning it, which was, it was just really nice. And then it was also, wonderful to see just, the most intense believer was just the one who was the most batshit insane.
Oh,
So
of course. Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
yeah, I was such a fan of the movie, and also like, yeah, it wasn't like, I don't know, it was like equally camp, but then it was equally like, no, this is like a thing. Like, this is serious, yo. Like, so it was cool. It was just
exactly.
definitely, I was glad it wasn't like Boy Erased serious. It was a little
Oh
less
yeah. I was
like,
nervous about that. Yeah, because
okay.
I was like, what tone do I pick here? Because but because I didn't want to do a film that is, like a very serious movie where it's just people kind of having like TED Talks for like
Yeah.
most of the film. I'm like, because that's just, it makes you it makes you feel like you're in a classroom or
Hmm.
in church, and it's just sort of like, we don't need the long speeches about why this is wrong or this is right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, let me just show that through the characters and their behavior. And you can kind of tell where I stand by the way certain people's lives turn out and certain people's don't in this movie. Like, some people, the ones who were pieces of shit, basically do get what is coming to them to some extent. So it's a nice kind of,
Yeah.
yay kind of an ending. But it's, yeah, I just, I didn't want it to be too just too drab and kind of, because my last film was a little drab. Like there was some comedy, but it was a little too serious, and I think maybe that turned off people a bit. And so I wanted to have some fun with it. I'm scared that maybe someone out there is going to like just put me over the coals because I didn't treat it, seriously enough. But I I don't know. We'll have to
Yeah,
just
I
wait
mean,
and see. I don't know.
It's an exploitation
there's
film.
probably going to be a
You know?
couple people that were like, I was in conversion therapy. It
Yeah,
wasn't anything like that. Like, or,
exactly. Yeah.
but also
I
it's kind of like,
think what would probably be surprising though is that conversion therapy is going to probably be a lot like I would have a feeling
I think, well, I mean, I
a
did some
lot like
research
that movie.
and
Just
I mean,
torturous,
yeah, I
torture.
mean, there's stories about people being locked in these dark rooms and being beaten and abused and not being fed or given water. And then there's one scene about in the middle of the film which when certain people read the script, they were like, that's not like a real thing, right? I was like, no, I've heard of this exercise where they try to, de-homosexualize you
Oh yeah,
by,
yeah.
it sort of, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a scene that was it was just
It's a
horrifying.
hard scene to take.
Yes, very much so, very much so.
this was maybe
Or
the
maybe
place,
not so hard if you were.
this,
Yeah,
this was maybe the part that was like the most like, but I'm a cheerleader, like,
yeah.
and because it wasn't so like, candy colored, it was a
Mhm.
little more kind of serious, like.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. And yeah, I keep wanting to like talk about this movie, but I don't want to spoil it for
It's
anybody.
tough. It's really tough. But I will say, because we had the premiere last week, and watching it with a full house and hearing them laugh and scream and groan and just get really into the movie and cheering, like when something good happens for the characters, they're like so excited, and I'm like, that is so great. I was so excited because that means it's fun
Yeah.
and it's getting the point across without being too depressing, which was kind of what I was trying to go for, like just to have a little bit more fun with it. And
Yeah. This is
so
definitely a movie that would work well, as you've just said, with a crowd.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah.
definitely, you know, feel that an audience could just really slip right into it and get into it.
Oh totally.
What I also adored, I think there are far too few. I think it's changing a bit as well. Is a good female villain.
Oh
And
yeah.
oh my God, Mary Esther, one of my favorite,
Oh
I think,
man.
villainesses of all
Ooh,
time.
she's
Just
scary.
amazing. Joanne
She's scary.
Robinson, correct? That
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is amazing in the role. She's got a bit of a. We were talking about pre-show, a bit of a horror movie history.
She
Was incredible in
does.
Race Scalps.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is obviously a really accomplished, stage trained actress. But I just love a good, powerful villainess. And what I loved about this too is, granted, she's doing it over her faith,
Mhm.
and I think there's a great twist also about, the things that she's tried to twist and change about herself that happens at the end as well.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I love that it wasn't about a man. She didn't go crazy like Claire Higgins in Hellraiser for the love of a man.
Yeah.
Who's another amazing villainess. But so
Mhm.
many are done for the love of men or family or whatever, and
Yeah.
she's got a whole other ball of wax going on here.
I mean, she did love a man, and that man was Jesus Christ.
That's right.
So,
The greatest man of all. Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
But
I've literally watched like some of my like relatives say. I remember one time we were talking pre-show a little bit about like just the cringy things that people will do on their screens sometimes. But one of my super religious like aunts-in-law like said something once where she was like trying to get people to come to church or something, and she was like, "Come meet the man of my dreams, Jesus Christ."
Oh.
And I was just
Oh
like,
no.
no,
That's so
like,
Mary Esther. That is
I
so
really
know
Mary
is.
exactly.
Esther.
It was very,
Really is.
Mary Esther moment where it was like,
Yeah.
meet the man of my dream, Jesus Christ. I was like, oh, oops.
Oh
Wild.
my goodness.
It's just
Yeah.
it's sort of giving me like Drop Dead Gorgeous flat flashbacks too, where Denise
Yes.
Richards
Richardson.
does that whole uh act with the statue of Jesus to can't take my eyes off of
Yeah,
you,
he's just like
rolling him
Oh,
around.
that's
just like
right.
rolling around like
She's like, there is a special man in my life, and just
That's
wheels him out.
someone who needs to be in your next film, Denise Richards.
Oh my god, I would die. I
Oh,
would just explode.
yeah.
dude.
Because like her and like Nev Campbell, Rebecca Gayheart, I mean, come
Oh
Ooh.
on,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
people
Urban
like
Legend.
that. Come on,
Yeah.
that'd be
Come
amazing.
on. Come
That'd
on.
be
Dude,
so much fun.
that's
But
the movie. I was trying to explain to my husband why I wanted Kirsten Dunst to win that Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, girl's been in a shit ton of movies and they've all been like
God,
cult classics. I was like,
yeah,
bring it on.
Yeah.
Freaking Drop Dead Gorgeous. Like, she deserves an Oscar at this point. She's been
I
acting since
agree.
she was 7. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
let's
thought
do
she
this.
was brilliant in The Cat's Meow.
Oh,
Peter
yeah.
Bogdanovich, yeah, that's
Yeah. Just
one of his films that people don't really talk about much. It's
yeah.
actually
That's true.
one of his
She's
better
Mary Davis.
later films.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, seriously. Probably the one thing that you could probably say with that he did
Yeah.
later on that was really solid. He's in um is it called Burned? Or but it's a Barbara Crampton. Barbara Crampton
Oh,
is I'm gonna have to I'm gonna be bad and
He's looking it up. He's looking it up.
I'm gonna look it up. But it's kind of like a Carrie thing. Barbara
oh,
Crampton's this actress, this faded B movie actress, and she gave up a daughter who has like kind of telekinetic Carrie like powers, and the whole point of the film is that she wants this role in a Peter Bogdanovich film, and
what?
the young daughter finds her and kind of helps, kills all her enemies and helps her get. It's called Reborn. Reborn.
Reborn. This sounds like the greatest movie ever
Yeah, that
made.
sounds amazing.
Ray Dong Chong is in, but Peter Bogdanovich
Dong
actually shows up at the end because
What?
the character gets the parts
Oh
in
my
the film
god,
because of
this sounds
crazy, unknown,
awesome.
until very recently, daughters firepower, killing everyone, including Ray Dong Chong. And she gets, so Peter Bogdanovich is actually in this film. I want to, like, if I ever, I'm just walking down the street and Barbara Crampton turns around the corner, I'm gonna be like, what was up with that? Peter Bogdanovich Reborn? How did he
What's
get involved?
even
It's
more
crazy.
strange, I went to film school where he taught. He
Oh,
was
wow.
actually a teacher.
Oh,
Like the
wow.
last 2 years I was there. He was a character. He
Oh,
was
I'm sure.
quite the character. Always had
He
on
looks
the
eccentric.
ascot,
Yeah.
just a walking encyclopedia of everything you'd ever want to know
Yeah.
about any movie ever made. It was
Yep.
shocking.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Well, he interviewed all those old school noir directors. I mean, he had encyclopedia like style
Yeah.
books with these kind of well regarded yet kind of fringy director dudes.
Yeah.
But I would love to go back. How did was it just a general audition? Like Joanne Robinson was so effective in this
Yeah.
role. How did she get involved in the project? I would love to talk about a little bit more about her.
She I had written the part for another actress and she read the script and was like, I just don't think I can do this. I think it was a mix of, oh my god, she has so many fucking lines, to also like, I just don't know if I can go there in terms of the darkness. And so she just had some issues, and I thought, okay, well, what are we going to do? So I kind of cast the net out for that part, and Joanne responded almost immediately. I think she had seen Stranger, I think.
Okay.
And
Which was another great mother kind of esque role in it.
Yeah. And she was like, I'd like to work with you. And she got the script, and her audition was, I think, pretty much exactly how it is on film. Like, I didn't have to direct her at all. She got it immediately. And I was like, I would be a dumbass if I didn't cast her. I mean, really, she was just so spot on immediately. And when you meet her, I was a little intimidated because I never really met her before. She's very well known in the sort of Jackson uh, theater scene. I mean,
Yeah.
she's played like some of the great stage parts, like Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Blanche in A Streetcar Named Desire. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't play those parts
Yeah.
unless you have the goods, you know, like
Yeah.
those
And
really
you,
great
you can
parts.
tell she's got a strong theatrical bearing
Oh
about her.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was, and then I met her, and immediately I was just put at ease because she's one of the funniest people in the world, and she was one of the first people to say, you know, I think this script, it has a kind of a sense of humor. And I thought, oh, thank
Yay.
God, somebody gets it, you know. And I was like, we are on
Yeah.
the same page. And I really don't think I had to direct her at all for the entire film. I mean, it was just like
Mm.
she just knew
She knew.
exactly what to do. And when you get an actor like that, it's just a gift. It's such
Yeah.
a gift. You're just like, oh, thank you, movie gods, for this, because
Yeah.
it's just she made it so easy. It's just such a joy. And oh
Yeah.
God, and she's
Nice.
It's
so
amazing.
great in
Yeah.
this.
No, her eyes scared the shit out of me because they were very like blue
Very
and
blue. Yeah.
and they would just like come out of nowhere and I'd be like, whoa, what? Like
Yeah, it's
I
what's
watched this
the
on my phone
mhm.
so bad. Ridley Scott would be so mad at me.
Oh,
Um,
I'm gonna tell. I'm gonna
right?
call up Ridley.
Please don't tell Ridley. He's like, she can't see my terrible haircuts. Anyway, sorry. Sorry, red light. But I like I even through the phone, even, you know, watching a movie, a dark, it's kind of like, you know, because it's dark, because it takes place in this very dark
Yeah.
house and it's super spooky, and
Mhm.
but her eyes came out of the phone. I'm like, oh God,
Yeah, they
okay.
just glow. It's
They
like
really did.
that like Meg Foster almost kind of
Yeah.
Ooh.
glowing eyes, which I love, because you don't know what's going on behind the eyes. Like, what is this? Like, what is she plotting? You know, and
Yeah.
it's exciting to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I liked your poster. It's right behind you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Watch out.
hello, hi.
How'd that
Uh,
happen?
but
Sorry.
when I saw it, I didn't even really understand what the scary thing in the back was of
Mhm.
the two kids. And then by the time you get to the movie, like, the end of the movie, you're like, oh, it's her. Oh shit! Like, because girls got it so together in the beginning. It's just
Mhm.
so, yeah. It's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, yeah. She is a gift to this movie for sure.
Well, I definitely wanted the character to start off as just like one of those really peppy church folks. You know, she's just
Sure.
very like just trying to just get you in and recruit you. And one of the biggest laughs of the entire screening, which I just love, was when she's talking to Emma on the bed, and she's like, I'm trying to remember the line. I should know it since I've been cutting this thing together for a year now. But it's something like, don't you want to be saved? Like, don't you, oh no, it's don't you want to know there's always someone who will be there for you and stuff. And Emma just goes like, no, I'm good, honestly. And she's just so sort of, she's trying to recruit her, and it's very insidious and creepy. It's like she's some sort of like QVC salesperson, and it's spooky, you know, because that's how they get you.
Yeah.
They start off really sweet and charming, and then all of a sudden the wheels come off and you're like, oh God, it's
Yeah,
frightening.
it's literally all recruitment. I feel like
Hmm.
that entire movie was just, you know, adults recruiting children to do things that they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And it was awful. But it yeah, I feel like, again, like, you know, you could see that. I could see the adult, you know, me an adult could see the adults
Hmm.
doing the things that were you know, insidious, and it
Oh
was just
yeah.
like, I remember that. I remember feeling that
Oh
and
God,
wondering
yeah.
why. I saw a great TikTok where it was like a woman you know, just having a ball in church, but it was like my mom in church, you know, minutes before she beat me to come to church. Like, and I was just
Exactly.
like, this is like, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. But it was just
Hmm.
like her just like yay. And it's
Yeah.
like I had a great conversation with my husband's parents who are Catholic. And
Well,
of Right. Um, luckily they have not tried to push that on us, which I am very happy with.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, very happy about it.
Oh.
Like when we said we weren't getting married in a church, they were okay with it, and I was like, "Thank you very much." But
Oh.
like, but we were having dinner one night, and Ryan's parents were like, I don't know, we were just talking about like church and like, were you made to go? Were you, or did you want to go? Like the wanting to go and the being forced to go, that kind of sucks. Like, and Ryan's parents were like, "Oh, I think with Ryan, like, we were very like flexible with him, and we didn't make him go if he didn't want to." And Ryan literally like stops everything and he goes, "No, no, no, you did. You made me go, and you made me feel like shit when I didn't want to go."
Wow.
And it was hilarious because they both were like, "Really?" And it's like they didn't even realize what they were
Yeah.
doing. Like,
No.
and yeah, it was a very interesting moment where I was just like, "Oh shit!" Like, I
But
I
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like one good, like, I remember I wasn't raised Catholic, but like my family was Catholic, and I kind of moved around too much for anybody to really care about if I went to church or not. But every now and then, like we lived in Germany for a while, we went to a Catholic church, and the only cool thing about it was that I knew what was going on, even if it was in a different language. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the part where we say nice things to each other." Okay, cool. Like, it's because it's literally the same everywhere you go, which is
shake a
cool.
hand, shake a
Yeah.
hand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's that the peace and everything. It transcends language barriers.
yeah, and in Europe, you get to go to a real cathedral that was there when the medieval times were. So
So at
There's
least
some
it's
that,
pretty.
art
yeah, it's
history
pretty.
there.
You're just like,
Yeah.
ooh, ah. Like I went to Notre Dame. I was like, oh, they're having mass. Let's do it. I'm here. Let's party.
I mean,
Well,
it's interesting,
yeah.
those old cathedrals. I mean, they're on the visual sense, they're lovely. It's just what goes on inside
And
is a
then
little,
Exactly.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's, this is just kind of, yeah, you just see kind of how for hundreds and hundreds of years they had a stranglehold on whole towns because literally the church was the center of the town.
Mhm.
Like, that's just like how it was. That's how it still is in old towns in Europe, because they're
Oh
just
God,
like,
yeah,
well, now you want to come and look at it. Come look at
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Look at our flying buttresses. Like, that's nice.
I love a good flying buttress. I
Oh
really
yeah.
do.
seriously,
Show me that. Show me that flying
I almost
buttress.
wouldn't mind doing that
Uh,
just from the sound of it alone. But the parents, unlike Ryan's parents, who maybe unknowingly forced Ryan to go to church, the parents and Children of Sin are definitely have an
Oh
agenda,
God.
with the teens.
Oh.
And this is kind of funny because um uh the casting's great, but creepy stepdad is kind of hot. Creepy stepdad.
Okay, so
was he a mature porn star?
Very
Was
oh my
he or
cute,
was
God.
he
like
not?
Oh
he comes
God.
out in a towel, and dude's got abs, and you
I
see where he's handsome. Well, like he does an amazing job
yeah.
because he's just creepy from the get go. But then there's kind of a flashback scene where he's being pervy in a towel, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, I'd switch places with her.
It's just like
Okay, daddy.
I'm in a
Daddy can
play
give
with
Daddy
him
can fill
right
him with the
now.
seed. It's okay.
He's gonna love to hear this because he's the thing is that he is the nicest man in the
Yeah.
world, to the point
Wow.
where I was like, I don't know if I can cast you in this part because I just don't know if you can bring the creep.
Yeah.
I was very concerned. And we had another actor who was in the part, who was more of a kind of like a Stanley Kowalski, Marlon Brando
Okay.
type, which would have been a whole
Hot as
different
well.
movie,
Hot as well.
also equally hot.
Yep.
But he broke his leg, and so he was like, I don't know if I can do this. And it was like a day before the shoot, and we're like, fuck, what are we gonna do? And
Probably not.
so I was like, I mean, you do sit for a lot of the movie, but then there's some stuff where you actually do have to move a bit.
Yeah.
So I was like, what are we going to do? And I had just worked with Jeff on another show, and he came in like literally the day of the shoot. He had read the script an hour before he got there and just nailed it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Just such a trooper. I like
Yeah.
unbelievable. And then he was I think the first day we shot the scene where he walks into Emma's room after she's been talking to her mom and sort of threatens her a bit. And there was this thing that he did with his eyes, like once the mom is gone and is going down the stairs and he's watching her go, and then he turns and he does this thing with his eyes, and literally everyone on the set just went like we all just kind of like backed away, like this isn't right, this is scary.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew, like, oh, this was a much better choice. This was meant to be, you know.
He was absolutely fabulous.
Well, I will say, in the screening, I heard someone go, "Hey, Daddy!" And
Seriously, I said that in my living room.
I want more of that in every movie. I feel like more people should be like lusting after people every movie. I saw a great meme where somebody had watched The Batman and somebody was like, "Oh, do you want to know the state of America right now? I'm at the Batman and someone, like, the second Zoe Kravitz came on the screen, someone audibly moaned." And I was like, yes, more of that, please, in our worlds. Like, and so then when I went to go see the Batman the second she came on, I went, oh, like, it was great. I scared the 9-year-old next to me.
I mean, I get it. You know, it's like she's gorgeous, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that old man, hot.
I need to see it. But
and are you finding, as a gay filmmaker, like, obviously you've put gay content into your film, but it seems like, particularly in the indie films, but just in films in general, we're finally getting, you know, more gay characters and more, you know, male nudity, you know,
more
to kind of balance out the female nudity that we've been kind of, you know, subjected to, which is the wrong word, but for decades now. So have you found that to be true, that you think that we're kind of,
you know, there's a few gay film makers out there who are definitely putting in the work in terms of trying to sort of equal out the I don't want to say the exploitation of, but just the you know, they put the male body on display more than it has been in the past. And I think hopefully at some point we'll get to a time where both male and female are just naked all the time, just sexy movies again. I really want to have like you know how in the 90s everyone just really seemed horny. You know, you had like Basic Instinct and like Sliver and all these erotic thrillers. You can't do that now. No one makes these movies, and it upsets me because they were very fun. And it's like people are kind of scared of sex now, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's odd. It's like that's like some sort of weird taboo thing. And when I made Triggered, at the premiere of that, there is a sex scene between two men, and no one was bothered by the violence or the language, but the moment that scene came on, some people like got up, they walked out. Some people went, "Oh, that's just too much. Why are they doing, like, this is just too much." And if it was a man and a woman, you wouldn't have heard a peep. You just wouldn't have. And it's I find that a little weird,
this reminds me a lot of
that nugget we were talking about of society. I'm sorry, Lindsay, but it's that nugget of society we're talking about that is in power, that still voicing their opinions. Go ahead, Lindsay. I'm so sorry.
It's, you know, and people are just like a little louder about it in a way that it's like, why must you? Like recently, Brian, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if this was even local, but I saw somebody, I don't know, like a theater let out like a public announcement where it was like, hey, the guest who came and like came to see I don't know, our production of Rent, and that stormed out and then just started to like berate the front of house people, and loudly say, well, I didn't know this was about gay people. And everyone like lampooned her because it was like, what'd you think the movie, or what'd you think the musical was about? Did you think it was about Rent?
Yeah, the landlords.
Did you think it was about landlords? Like I just.
Well, and I mean, it's also what, like 25 years old now. Like,
right?
Shouldn't you know what it's about? Like, just go on Wikipedia before you buy your tickets. You can get a full synopsis. You know?
Exactly. I mean, I just thought that was funny that a woman was like, "Oh, Rent? I've never heard of that. Let's go see it." Oh my!
Come on,
you
kids.
know, like, come on, kids.
Well, I know on the Facebook feeds, several people posted when Halloween Kills came out and when they went to see it in the theaters, just how people reacted to Big John, Little John. You know, just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
disgusting, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or with It Chapter 2, people
It chapter
cheering
2. Yep.
Mhm.
cheering when the gay guys got bashed.
Yeah.
You know, so it's still out there. It's still, yeah,
It's so strange because I mean I remember like I think the first scene like that I saw in a theater was an Adam Sandler movie called Big Daddy.
okay.
And I
Oh,
remember this was
okay.
like not 99, and the opening of this movie is sort of somewhat based on that experience because I went to see that with my dad, and there's a scene where two gay guys kiss. And looking back
Oh,
now, 99 Adam Sandler movie, PG-13 summer blockbuster, kind of progressive in a way.
yeah, yeah, in a way,
And
yeah, yeah,
and I remember when that scene came on, like my dad and other people just went, ugh. And they're like, that's just disgusting. That's just gross. And I remember I had just kind of realized that I was gay at the time. And I was like, oh no. I was like, I better keep this to myself because
yeah,
this is not going to be good. Because if they're disgusted by that, they're going to be disgusted by me.
yeah.
And you
Right?
kind of have to
Seriously.
just stick it inside because it's not going to be good if it comes out.
To me,
And
to me, straight men are like the worst. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean,
They're like
it's
they're the worst because they try to be, and this is definitely like a 90s thing. That that straight men were like the gatekeepers of things. Like, oh, two men kissing. Nope, nope, nope.
yeah.
Nobody likes that. A
Hmm.
woman queefing. Ew, ew. Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, it to me, it's like they literally took things that they didn't understand, and they were like, well, that's in the box of not funny, not gonna
Hmm.
watch your movie if it's in it.
Oh
And so
yeah.
then everybody, productions listen. They were like, oh, I guess we shouldn't put that in there. But now I feel like we're a
Yeah.
little bit more like, oh wait, like maybe we should listen to a woman's opinion about
Absolutely.
her queefs. Are they funny? Are they not? They are.
Well, and there's so many men, you still hear it to this day that are like, chicks just aren't funny, man. I'm like,
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Like, have you seen like Bridesmaids or 9 to 5 or The First Wives Club? Like, these are
yeah.
funny movies starring funny women. Like, why are you like? I don't understand it. It's this weird. It's like they want to have like their own little private club and just ugh.
Yeah, yeah. I don't get it because it's like
I
we've
yeah.
people have been, like there are women comedians that are making a shit ton of money, and it's like I don't. Yeah, like the female Ghostbusters came out, and the men were like,
Oh
no, like
man, that was a shit show.
that was
Those
a shit show.
reactions were like just so. I mean, just the comments that you would see online were like,
Uh,
"What?" Because I didn't even like the movie, but I was like, "Don't insult the fact that they were only upset because it wasn't the original."
yeah.
And I'm just I don't understand that. I don't
Yeah, I
get
was
it.
like, yeah, you can be mad that we're trying to, I don't know, rehash an old story over and over and over,
Mhm.
beat the crap out of this dead horse. Like, that's fine. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that it's all women, like, please, like, just stop. Just stop.
I definitely, heading into my mid 50s, I'm so tired of having lived all these decades where everything has been governed and still is to a very large degree, but by straight white men. Like all the fan magazines, Fangoria. If you're talking cinema, we're guided, and I think how you look at things and report on things, your sexuality and your interests are reflected in that. So
Mhm.
I'm so just over listening to the status quo, and
Yeah.
having society decided what's popular and what we can see and what we can't see,
Right.
and I have,
Yeah.
it's even gotten to the point where people who I've adored, in the horror film community, who are smart and who have written books, and but they're straight white guys that people I've done projects with and have loved it. I was like, I could, if I don't hear your opinion ever again in my lifetime, I will be fine. because
Right.
your opinion, is so closely linked to this guy's opinion and that guy's opinion, and there isn't too much of a difference, I have found, from being on podcasts with groups of straight guys who I really have adored, and they're good people. But I'm like, I was like, your opinions aren't that different from one another.
Yeah, it's
you
it's
know
that it's that
so
fandom thing that I find interesting, because there's so many people out there that go see horror because they like the characters, they like the story, they like to be scared or inspired or moved in some way. But then it seems like the majority of horror fans are just like, are there tits? Are there blood? And that's all they
yeah,
care about. And I'm
Exactly.
like, that's why you go see it, just for that? Like, because
yeah,
I can't understand that. I just don't get it. Like, if that's the cherry on top of an already great film, cool. I don't mind it. But if that's all the film is, I mean, you just brought up Halloween Kills, and that's a movie that is just, there's no plot to that movie. The characters make no sense. It's just nonstop action and death and destruction. And for a lot of people, that's enough. That
yeah.
is truly enough. And they're like, this was the best one yet because Michael was brutal. I'm like, but Jamie Lee was on a fucking hospital bed the entire movie and did nothing. I'm like, that's who I'm personally there to see. I'm like, I want to see her
yeah,
do something. And,
yeah, yeah.
and
I'm
it's
I'm
just
almost I'm almost I'm almost at a point right now where I would like horror movies to bring gratuitous displays of tits back. Honestly, I think that there have been so
Okay,
many.
Lindsay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
take it off.
I just think like also we're like I don't know, like Ryan and I have been just going through Shudder's, like we went through their best of 2021 last, like at
Mhm.
the beginning of this year, and there were so many like woman revenge movies, woman like woman directed and starred and wrote and killed a bunch of people movies,
Mhm.
that I was like, oh shit, like we're doing it. Like we're actually like putting women in positions of, not, we're not just final girling one girl. Like we're actually
Mhm.
like making her strong, and we're making
Right.
her creative, and we're
Mhm.
making like even like even with your movie, like the face off is more girls than guys, which is very helpful to me. Like I just think that's really cool. But I almost want us to, I don't know, like we take, everybody like takes words back. Take back the night. Like take back
Yeah.
the tits. Take back just take back tits. I want literally like a woman to start like a killing spree, shirt off, and just fling it over her head and then just start killing people. I just think that would be, to me, it would almost be like really awesome. And
The Maria Ford School of Cinema.
Yes. Yes.
She's have I don't know if you know, but she's one of Roger Corman's starlets, and
yes,
Oh
it's
yeah.
Angel of Destruction. She like she knocks out the baddies totally topless, like
I
in a
love
pair
it.
of bikinis.
That
So
is
that was the Maria
Corman knows what's
Ford.
up.
interesting. Yeah,
So
because
you're
it's
talking
like,
the Maria Ford form of cinema there, Cindy.
yeah, because like Corman and people like that, they made these cheap exploitation films that on the surface seem like they could be considered misogynistic or something. And yet I never really got that vibe, because a lot of the women in these movies always kick ass,
Yeah, yeah. No,
and
I agree.
it's interesting because so that's how you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, is if you have these women who just happen to be beautiful, like all those scream queens, like the Linnea Quigleys and Brink Stevens, Michelle Bauer, like they always kicked ass. They
Yeah.
always like turned into demons and ate a bunch of guys. I mean, like this, they were the empowered ones. They just happened to be topless,
Yeah,
So they're
yeah.
like, let's bring in the teenage boys, but let's also entertain everybody else,
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
The
it's
women in the gays.
possible.
The women in the gays.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I almost think that the reason why we had such like, topless women just bimbo roles was because it was lazy writing.
Oh, absolutely,
I think a lot of
absolutely.
times, yeah, I think a lot of times you have people like, I could tell that Children of Sin was thoughtfully written. I could tell that.
Well, thank
Whereas
you.
I can definitely tell when a movie from the 80s is not
Well, yeah.
thoughtfully written, like
Well, I I think, you know, a lot of films back then and still now, they do cater to that sort of certain horror fan base of, we just want the tits and the blood, and
Hmm.
that's it. And if they provide that, it can have the worst script, the worst acting, the worst cinematography. You're not going to hear what they're saying half the time, but if they have those two things, they're like, this is a masterpiece. In 20 years, Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow will be putting this out in a remastered collector's a edition. And it's just, I don't know, it's a little disheartening
Yeah.
at times, because I think there is a need for horror films that actually have something to bring to the plate besides those things. Because when I look at all the ones I love, movies like Carrie and Halloween and stuff, I mean, they have some of those elements, of course, but they also have a story and
Yeah.
good acting and great scripts.
And also like complicated from the perspective of a very complicated teenage girl, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
Carrie, for instance.
exactly.
Like there's a lot going on with her,
Oh yeah.
and luckily Stephen King was a good enough writer that he was able to convey that in the book. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, have like Brian De Palma like really tried to get that. He tried to get that happening in the movie as well. And I feel
Yeah.
like the more we have stories told from non-male standpoints, the better we're going to get at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I keep thinking about, because the Oscars just happened, so I've been thinking about all the Oscar winners. And in 2005, uh, a horrible movie won the Oscar for Best Picture, and that was Crash, not the
Oh God.
Cronenberg,
Not
but
Crash, not Crash.
yeah,
Oh,
oh Crash.
oh Crash.
Also, when Netflix first came out, like you could always like, and it didn't have like an app or anything, like you would go to the website and you could see the top rented movies.
Mm-hmm.
Crash was always number one. Like there was like a stint for like a year where Crash was number one, and I was like, we all have to stop. And this is because that movie was told from a white person's standpoint, and so they got racism so wrong. And so now that I'm glad we live in an era, I feel like we live in a post crash era where we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing more movies told by more diverse people. We're
Oh
seeing
yeah.
more black directors.
Mm-hmm.
They're still getting arrested to just grab money from their own accounts at banks, but they're there and they're
Yeah.
directing. Like
Yeah.
so it's like the more we see, and even like yours, like the just seeing it from a, again, like a gay standpoint sometimes is really important in horror. Like I will say that over and over again. It is extremely important because I do feel like when gay people are in horror movies, it's to, now it's like a, you know, like with It Chapter 2 was kind of like this endearing thing we were trying to go for, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, that's close. But
Yeah.
sometimes like it's kind of, you know, like the Adam Sandler movie where two people kiss and everybody's like grown. Like
Yeah.
I don't, I hope to think that Adam Sandler was cool, was okay, was like, hey, no,
Well,
no, we're gonna have gay characters and this is cool. But I also wonder if he was like, I want to make people grown a bit.
I would hope that Adam Sandler would be cool with it because
I would
I have to
think so.
tell you, I think he is hot as fuck in Zohan. I
I
will
don't
watch
judge.
that. What's that?
I do
Are
not.
you,
I do not judge.
yeah,
I'm trying
don't
so
mess with
hard not to
Zohan.
judge Brian. I'm trying so
You know
hard.
you can judge me, but like I will watch that just to watch him. Like because
I
Aww.
always thought he was cute. I really
he's
did.
hot as fuck in that movie. And
Yeah.
come on, who is going to be watching that? Because he's prancing around naked with his shirt up, women and gay men. Come on. So
Exactly.
I am
Exactly.
hoping, to the goddess that Adam Sandler is cool with the gay community, and that and in my mind, Zohan is his gift to me and other
Oh my God.
gay men like me.
I'm sure he's probably. Have you seen like the memes where it's like this man is worth $100 million and this is what he chooses? He's just like eating like hard-boiled eggs like
Yeah,
on the street. Like
crazy. But
Well, I mean, it is interesting because as a kid, I had no idea that horror had such a big gay fan base. I really had no idea. I thought I was just a weirdo. I was like, why would a gay person want to watch these movies? I thought we could only like musicals and like Joan Crawford movies. I didn't
Ah,
think it was a
Yeah.
thing, which are
Yeah.
also delightful, by the way.
Which
But
I have. It took me many decades to get over my own gay self-loathing
right,
and embrace those films.
yeah,
But
but
yeah, but
they're good.
they're amazing. They're amazing. Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
it's just weird. I didn't know though that I mean there were so many of us out there, and it's sort of it warms my heart because I start to think, oh my God, we had some of the same experiences when we were kids. You know, when we
Yeah.
saw Halloween for the first time or Nightmare on Elm Street. It's I had no idea, and I don't know what exactly it is that speaks to us. I mean, I guess the sort of like Final Girls,
Oh,
that there's something there, this kind of
yeah.
strength that we can
That you
try to
need that
relate to.
that it's a survival quest that those
Yeah, yeah.
films and many of us who grew up in small towns and being different we related to that survival quest. Plus they're
Mhm.
outsider films. I mean, we're
Yeah,
outsiders. I
yeah.
can't tell you how many intelligent people I've sat down with in writing meetups
Mm.
and they'll find out that I focus on horror with the blog and essays and all that kind of stuff and that I go at it intellectually a lot of the
Mhm.
times.
Yeah.
Like why, how are people treated, why is this important, what is this saying to society, and they think of horror as a they view it as like a darker or a especially if they're spiritual, that's
Mhm.
kind of a, can't remember the word that this woman once used, but I was like, wow, but it was something like that's a darker energy, like how
Oh,
I,
like horror is a dark energy, while the other art, it's a light, an energy of light, and that's a
interesting.
energy that involves darkness. And I'm like,
huh.
I
well,
don't know.
they saved me. I gotta say,
Yeah.
That's how I feel too. I mean,
they
when
gave me
I
hope.
was a
And
kid, like I had the worst nightmares ever. And once I started to watch these movies, they just went away completely.
yeah,
And I think it's
Whoa.
because,
nice.
well, it's because you can, with a horror film, you can confront those emotions in the daytime as opposed to at night, like everybody else does. You get to exercise those fears, those anxieties on a movie screen and just leave it at the door and then go have a nice little sleep. Whereas a lot of people, I've discovered, the ones that don't like to watch them are usually the ones that have the worst dreams because they have no outlet. They don't have it. And it's always been, like you said, it saved you. It saved me too.
Yeah.
These movies, they're so much more than what a lot of people think that they are. And I do think it's, the genre is getting a little bit more respect these days now. People
Hmm.
aren't calling you a pornographer if you make a horror film like they were in the 80s. My God, that was the worst time because everyone was coming after you. It's just, I mean, something like Silent Night, Deadly Night. I mean, the
Yeah.
people that made that film were just drummed out of town for
Yeah.
this movie that actually has a lot to say about religion too. Like it has
It
something to
does, yeah.
say, and I just find that fascinating. But also the people that were protesting the film, most of them were pretty religious. So it makes me wonder, like, did you see this movie and it kind of triggered you a bit and made you think,
Yeah.
uh-oh, like,
Yeah.
what are they going to think about us? They might actually have to use their brains, and I don't know.
Yeah, the second like I start seeing like what the new Disney movie Turning Red has been
Mm,
getting such
yeah.
flack because they're
Hmm.
like, is this about periods? What's going on here? Like it's hilarious. Like they are literally they're eviscerating this movie, which I haven't seen yet, but every time I even look at a picture of it, I'm like, oh, it's so cute. I want to see that. But like,
But the fact that their minds even go, like, I hear Disney movie Turning Red, I'm not gonna go, oh, menstrual fluid.
Yeah.
The fact that their minds even go there, I think shows just how warped they
Hmm.
there are
are.
a lot of people.
Because the people who are like, smoking their pot to get to sleep at night and sucking a stranger's dick in the alley and doing all doing living their crazy lives are not thinking, oh, seminal fluid, bloody seminal fluid when they hear Turning Red.
I'm
No,
scared. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's just
ridiculous.
crazy,
it
My
makes
crazy.
no sense to
It's
me.
my
perverts.
My mother-in-law literally gets nightmares if we wear a scary shirt.
Yeah.
And
you've
she
gotta be
hates,
kidding me.
yeah, she hates horror movies.
Oh man.
And that's the thing. It's like I feel like the people who hate horror, like my mom, it was so funny. My mom comes to visit, and my husband's playing Dead by Daylight,
Oh yeah.
which is great. It's like a horror movie every time. It's lovely. But there is a huge gay following for Dead by Daylight, a huge LGBTQ everything. Drag queens are playing it on Twitch. It's amazing to see these like drag queens do things, and they're like, they'll do things where it's like there's like one killer that has like a pig head, and they do this thing where they're like, well, this is how you boop the snoot, and it's literally like you use the motions that the person can do to boop their snoot, and and the killer like enjoys that or something. And it's the weird, like, I'm just like, thank you for taking this like scary thing. It's just like what you were saying, like people, like you didn't think like you were, you thought it was weird to like horror, but everyone, like there are so many people there. And I feel like us being cooped up in our houses during this stupid pandemic has really brought that to bear, like visually, because now it's like, hey, do you like this freaky scary game? Me too. I also do I do a good I beat my face real good. So let's just put that on and then play DBD. And it's just like, I want to see that. I want to see that. More of that in my life. I want a horror movie of that. Yeah.
Well, more of Children of Sin. More Children of Sin in your life.
More children, more sin.
More of it. And so the release date is April 30th for
the 22nd. The
22nd. Okay.
Friday the 22nd. I wanted to do I think it was the week before, which was Easter, but I was told I couldn't do that because the PR company said that they couldn't do a press release because it was a holiday. I was like, but I kind of wanted it to be
it would have been perfect
Easter because it would
I
just be like a fuck you,
Yeah,
I have I have like flashbacks. I did a show once on Easter Sunday and no one showed up. And we dressed in our Sunday best too, and it was hilarious.
That's right. The cell phones.
Yeah,
I'm in a
band.
Awful.
I'm in a band called the Cell Phones, and it was literally like we all dressed like we were going to church, and then played a show, and it was so funny. The only people who came to the show were people who walked by the door and saw us in our Sunday best screaming into a mic.
Well, see, it was a good gimmick.
It was a
gimmick.
great gimmick, but man, I just remember being like, we're never doing a show on Easter Sunday. And it was like a Game of Thrones night. So it was
no.
No one was there.
It was
That's
a Game of Thrones. It was the naked Vikings who screwed you over there.
Yeah.
I think it might have been because, these days I've discovered really, I mean, the church attendance has been dropping a lot. Like even people that identify as church goers aren't really going every week like they are supposed to, And so I don't know. I think, which is maybe a good thing.
And Game of Thrones has its own fucking religion too, and it's not one god, it's 7. Yeah. So
and they've got dragons, which is much more exciting,
right? All
I've
right.
never seen it, but
you said the 22nd, right?
22nd on
awesome.
Amazon. Good old
on Amazon.
It's very, very fancy.
Fancy. Well, we will on the 22nd. We will scream it from the rooftops. This was a lovely, lovely movie. I am so excited for you. I really hope that people watch this a shit ton. And thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us tonight.
Thank you. This was a blast.
Yeah.